Hey everyone, in this video we are going to be looking at measures of center. So in statistics, measures of center describe the typical value of a data set. So the mean, which we discussed before, is a type of measure of center. So are what we call the median and the mode, which we'll be introducing today. The median is literally just the middle value. So if you have all of your data ordered from least to greatest, whatever value is right in the middle would be your median. And then your mode is the value that occurs the most. So looking at this data set, right, it's already written, it's not written in order from least to greatest. So if we want to find the median, right, we need to write these numbers in order from least to greatest first. So we're going to go ahead and take this and write it from least to greatest. So we can see that 90 would be least, followed by 105. Then we have 120, then 125, then we have 135, 145, we have 2 of 160, and then we have 175 and 205. So if we want to find our median, again, it's just the very middle value. So we can basically alternate crossing numbers off from the left side and the right side so that we can start finding our middle. Right? We just want to know what number is exactly in the middle of this data. And so we get here and you'll find that we actually have two numbers here. Right? Now, when we have an even number of data points, in order to find our median, we will just find the mean of these two values. So in other words, we want to find what's exactly halfway between 135 and 145. So in this case, it's pretty easy to see that halfway between those two would be 140. But just to show you that we can do this by finding the mean, we'll take 135 and add it to 145 and divide that by 2. So 135 plus 145 is 280. And then 280 divided by 2 is 140. So the median of this data set is 140. Right? It's just the point in the very middle. Now, if we want to find the mode is just the value that occurs the most. So you may have noticed in this data set, the only number that we had that occurred more than once was 160. We had 2 of those, whereas everything else we only had 1 instance. So our mode here is 160. All right, now another example, finding the median and the mode. It says 7 competitors eat 26, 33, 34, 2, 32, 34, and 42 bugs. Kind of a gross competition. Find the mean, median, and mode with and without the outlier. Which measure does the outlier affect the most? So again, let's go ahead and put these in order from least to greatest first. We have 2, then we have 26, then we have 32, 33, 34, another 34, and 42. So if we want to find our median, we can start from the ends and work our way to the middle. And our very middle value here is 33. So our median is 33 with the outlier. Sorry, that should be 33. And this is with the outlier. And this is without the outlier, which we'll calculate later. Now, our mode, we can see, is 34, because that occurs twice, and the others only happen once. So our mode is 34, and our mean, again, we will add all of these values together, and we have a total of 7 data points. So we will add them all together and divide by 7. So when we add all of these together, we get 203. And 203 divided by 7 is 29. So our mean with the outlier is 29. Now, looking at this data, we can probably recognize that there is an outlier, right? We see that this number 2 is way, way less than all of the other numbers, right? Everything else is between 26 and 42, so pretty close to 30. 2 is much, much smaller. So that would be our outlier. So if we want to find our median, mode, and mean without it, we'll just ignore that 2. So now if we were to find our median, right, we work from left and right and work to the middle, and we get 33 and 34 are those middle two values. So again, we want the point that's halfway between those two, right? You could think of a number line. If you had 33 here and 34 here, you want this point right in the middle, which you can probably see would be 33.5. And again, we can also calculate that, finding the mean of those two. So 33 plus 34, we get 67. And 67 divided by 2 would be 33.5. So again, when we ignore the outlier, our median is 33.5. Our mode is still 34. And our mean, again, we're just going to add everything up except for that 2. So that would give us 201. And now we only have 6 data points, so we will divide that by 6. 6 goes into 20 3 times. That's 18. 6 goes into 21 3 times. That's 18. And 6 goes into 30 5 times. So our mean is 33.5. Now if we look at this, right, we can see that without the outlier, our median changes slightly. It changes by 1/2. It increases by 1/2. The mode does not change at all, and the mean increases by 4.5. So we can see that the mean in general is much more affected by outliers than the median and the mode are. So that's always something to keep in mind. Now let's look at one more problem here. Or rather, we'll do 2 more problems here. So this first one says a store normally charges the prices shown over here for 6 video games. What happens to the mean, median, and mode if the prices of all 6 games are decreased by $3? So I'll save you some time, but we'll quickly calculate the mean, median, and mode, and then we will decrease everything by $3 and compare. Now, if we look here, the mean for these video game prices is $35.77. The median is $31.83, and the mode is $53.42. Now, after we take into account this $3 discount, right, that means each item is going to decrease by $3. So this $53.42 would now cost $50.42. This would be $15.99. This would be $24.97. You get the point. Right now, it's pretty interesting. If we look over here at the mean, we get $32.77. And you'll notice that's exactly $3 less than the original mean. The median is $28.83, and that's exactly $3 less than the original median. And the mode is $50.42, which is exactly $3 less than the original mode. So when we change all of our data values, right, so in this case, all of them decreased by 3, then all of our measures of center also change by that amount. So the mean, median, and mode all decreased by 3. Let's look at one more question. It says, how much do climbing shoes cost? And you can see off to the left here, we have the prices of 8 different climbing shoes. So we're going to find the mean, median, and mode, and then we're going to use a dot plot to determine which of those best captures the typical price of climbing shoes. So let's look first at finding the mean. So we're going to add 40 plus 51 plus 142 plus 68 plus 57 plus 40 plus 65 plus 85. And then we'll divide all of that by 8. Now, when we're doing calculations like this, I have no problem with you using a calculator, but I do want you to check your work multiple times to make sure you're getting the correct calculation. But I definitely don't expect you to do all of this math by hand every time. So we've got 40 plus 51 plus 142 plus 68 plus 57 plus 40 plus 65 plus 85. And that's 548. And we'll divide that by 8. So 548 divided by 8, we get a mean of 68.5. So the mean is 68.5. Okay, now we'll find our median. Remember, we need everything from least to greatest. So we have 40, another 40, we have 65, and 68. Sorry, I missed one. We have 51 first, then 57, then we have 65, 68, 85, and 142. So now we have all 8 in order from least to greatest. And again, we can find our median, working our way toward the middle. And our two middle values here are 57 and 65. So again, we want to find the number halfway between those two. So that'll be 57 plus 65, and we'll divide that by 2. So 57 plus 65 is 122. And 122 divided by 2 would be 61. So our median is 61. And our mode, right, we can see we have 2 shoes that cost $40. So our mode is 40. So now let's go ahead and make our dot plot. So we've got 2 values at 40. So we'll put 2 there. We have one at 51, so that would be about over here. One at 57. One at 65. And one at 68. Then we have one at 85. And one at 142. So our mean at 68.5 would actually be right over here, because this red point here represents 68. So our mean would be this yellow line. Our median at 61, right, that would be about here. So that'll be our green line. And then our mode with the blue line, right, would be right here at 40. So if we're comparing these and we want to know the typical cost of all of our data points, right, or the typical cost, I should say, of these climbing shoes, right, we can see, okay, when we measure the mean, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 climbing shoes that cost less than our mean of 68.5, and only 2 that cost more. So you can see, right, that this outlier is really pulling our mean higher. If we look at the median, there are 1, 2, 3, 4 shoes that cost more, and 4 shoes that cost less. And you can see it's really kind of grouped closer to where the majority of our shoes are, right? If we ignore this outlier here, you can see that most of our shoes are in this range, and that median is right there in the middle of it. Finally, if we look at the mode, clearly the mode is not our best measure of the typical cost of the shoes, right? Because it is lower than all but 2 of these points. So in this case, we could say that typical climbing shoes cost about $61. So the median in this case is our best measure to represent the data.